Hello, welcome to Victory Auto Group. We are a dealer in Stuart, Florida, on Monterey Road. We've been open for 13 years, since 2011, and it's been a great experience for me opening that dealership. It's been a dream of mine, and this is Billy.
Hello.
We both work there, and today we're going to share about the experiences or things to watch out for when you're buying a car. So that's one of the most difficult things to do is buying a used car. A lot of people don't buy a lot of cars in their lives, used cars in their lives. Some people have one car every 10 years. So if you buy five or six cars, you don't five or six cars in your lifetime, you're not going to really have an experience or knowledge to buy the right used car. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And Billy
Yes,
is,
so in referencing this subject, I guess we're going to call this like a buyer awareness type situation.
yeah.
Um,
So, so like, what do you like when people come in to us to buy a used car? Sometimes people, and I think it's a great idea, and I recommend it. Is they say, "Well, can I take it to a mechanic?"
absolutely.
And that is one thing
Absolutely. That's,
that's a must. I think.
just a simple situational awareness as far as vehicles. When you get in the car, you want to get in the car and feel it out. You want to, make sure you're comfortable in the car first. Go ahead and adjust your mirrors, pop the hood, due diligence, check your fluids, make sure everything, just looks the part.
Yeah.
That's a lot of times, you want to see that things just look maintained, overall.
hmm Yeah,
Um,
and I agree with you. A lot of times, because I do the sales part, and you do the mechanic
yes, sir.
part. When I'm selling, I always look at the person. How do they fit in the car? How do they
Exactly.
feel in the car? How do they even look together? The car
Are
and the
you gonna
person.
love the car tomorrow?
Yeah, and also it's how they fit. So when you go look at the car, I agree with you. You get in it, see how you feel. Like
Well, you wouldn't
feel.
sell a guy like me a Miata.
Yeah, you're not gonna feel too good
I'm
in the
I'm gonna
Miata.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
come back and say, you know what? Maybe I should have got that bigger car.
yeah. So that is a point. You're not gonna. I mean, of course, you could buy a Miata, but you're not gonna be very comfortable.
Well, and then again, that's
And that's
that's
funny.
if it was my personal
Yeah,
preference.
and it's ironically, I saw this tall guy. He's like 6'5", and I saw him walking by. And then a few minutes later, I walked by a Miata, and he's in there, all like crunched over.
Yeah, and then you see them
I was
driving down the
cracking
road
up.
and their
Yeah,
heads like
yeah, I was
over the
cracking up. What is
windshield.
that guy doing in that little
Yeah.
car? So,
All right. Well, back to the original part of our topic. So, buyer awareness starts first with me. Obviously, me as a buyer, I need to be aware of, first, what I'm looking for,
right.
what I'm expecting to do with this vehicle, and my expectations as to, my preferences, but most importantly, what actually is going to satisfy my needs.
Right.
Secondly, I want to, like I said, just check everything out, make sure everything feels comfy, pop the hood, look it over, and then comes the test drive. So, you want to start off with how we go about the test drive, or
Well, we usually go around a certain area, always the same area. So it's a controlled, somewhat controlled area. And when you're test driving the vehicle, things to look for is you listen for noises.
yeah,
You when you're driving, you feel how the transmission, how it shifts, how it drives. If you
how
feel,
that exhaust note sounds?
yeah, the exhaust. I love the
Yeah,
exhaust.
a lot of people want to check out how that radio sounds
The
too.
radio. And then I always, whenever I test drive a car, I always have to floor it. I don't know if it's a good idea, but it's what I do. Really get a good sense for the car when I floor it. I feel the acceleration. I hear
Yep,
the shift points. I hear
nice and clean.
the noise. I feel if it has power, and if it has sometimes when cars are older or not older, when they've been abused, they don't have the power. They feel like you just
You
floor
get
it,
a little shimmy or a thump.
and the engine, you don't feel the umph in the engine. You
Yep.
don't you don't feel, it just doesn't feel right. So I do those things. And then also when I go on test drives, sometimes I'm talking to people, and I always say, well, you know what? I'm not going to talk. Let's just listen to the car and focus on the
Exactly.
driving experience. Feel the steering wheel, alignment. Um, what do you think?
Alignment meaning that it's not pulling to the left or to the right. When you're braking, it's steering ahead properly. And that gives you a good sense of the car too. When you're doing that stop and go, you can feel the brakes that they're working properly.
Yeah,
Also, when you're accelerating, even though you wouldn't accelerate hard every day, you could feel out. Hey, does this thing feel tight? Do the motor mounts feel good? Does it have a slight misfire? Does it have any weird noises? That's all good information. Me personally, I like to make sure my air conditioner works, test out the vent systems,
yeah,
just overall look at the vehicle, make sure, stupid things that you may or may not be aware of. What's in the glove box, do I like where the cup holders are? Sometimes that
yeah,
matters a
yeah. And
lot to
then
people.
also along the line, open all the windows.
Open the
Play with
windows.
all the radio, the volume. Hear if there's blown speakers. Play
Yep.
with the power seat, the seats, if
hmm
all the
Because
functions.
we know for a fact that
Oh, wait, a
if
lot.
if Grandpa sat in this car for 5 years and never moved it,
It might not
it
move.
might not move. That's something we might have to work out, and we do. 9 times out of 10, if it's something like a back window, we see it all the time. Back windows are never used, so
Yeah.
they get stuck. Sometimes it's simple. Give it the old
Thump,
fonts,
and then yeah,
and we're good to go. And other times, we're replacing parts. But that's what's good about you is that you employ mechanics such as myself that go through these vehicles. We go through the proper inspections. We check lights, windshield wipers, brakes, tires. How many tires do we buy a month?
I have no idea. I can't really count. It's a lot
It's a lot.
because we have to take the tires to the dump and
And the
and
batteries.
the batteries and the tires and all kinds of parts. It's
So really, you could say that buyer awareness really starts in our part because we have to be aware of what we've bought and we're reselling as well.
right.
Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yeah, I would. I think it depends on us. Obviously, we don't sell all the used cars in the world, so we can't be responsible for everyone. But so that's where buyer awareness is important. So you got to be who. So when you go somewhere else, or anywhere, you always need to be looking at these things that we're discussing.
And I've noticed in working with you that you're a very aware person. Um, when you're buying these vehicles, I know that you know what to look for, but what are some telltales that you can relate to people that they may not be aware of?
Yeah, that's a good question, Billy. Because I go to auctions and I have to buy these cars within a minute sometimes. I
Exactly.
have to do I decide,
So
and
in that
yeah,
minute, what are you
one
looking
minute.
at?
First things I look at, I do a walk around, a complete walk around. I look at the paint and different angles, and I look at reflections, and so I can see any issues with the paint and irregularities. And then I also look. A habit is always looking at tires. I always stick my hand at. And I don't only look at, but I also feel the tread.
And I know
I
you got that app on your phone that
Oh
lets
yeah,
you know.
and then also on every vehicle I check a Carfax. So those are the main things I look at. Carfax, paint. I walk around because sometimes the Carfax is not accurate.
hmm
Carfax is simply a guide. A lot of accidents or things
hmm
that may be happening in this car are not in the Carfax, but it's a guide to the puzzle. So you look at the car, you look at the Carfax, you look at the paint, and then also look at the interior, smell. Try to
Yes.
smell the interior. I look quickly. I glance at the dashboard for any check engine lights, and check. Put my hand on the AC and headliner. I glance. How's the headliner? Kind of do
Well, I noticed one of
and
the
that.
things you haven't said, but you relay this heavily on others is that blow by when it comes to taking off that oil cap while it's running and making sure that
Yeah.
there's no evidence of engine damage and things of that nature. I know you do that as well.
Yeah, I do that with diesels,
Yeah.
but a lot of times at the auction, sometimes I don't have sometimes I don't have time to check or didn't have a chance to check that beforehand. But if I ever buy a diesel, I'm always looking at blow by.
Well,
But
and then again, we're talking about buyer awareness. Once again, this is situational to you purchasing a vehicle, whereas we're trying to inform people how to buy a retail vehicle, but it applies.
it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Our first minute, and then obviously you employ people like myself to go further than that. Sometimes we spend a day or so with the vehicle. Hey, I noticed that when I was driving it or when I was
It's
checking
making
it
yeah.
out, it was making this noise. Please check it. And a lot of the times, if a vehicle is beyond what we would consider to be reasonable, you will deny it. You won't even resell it.
Right. Yeah, because at the auction, I buy them with a green light. So if there's things that the auction missed and I missed, we get the vehicle. I can send the vehicle back.
So we have a guarantee on our
Yeah,
end as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
Um, let's talk for a second also about when we sell a vehicle, we offer a warranty as well. We always offer that aftermarket
yeah,
warranties.
yeah. We offer the warranty. So whenever when we sell a vehicle, we want the person to have success with the vehicle. Whether it, more importantly, I focus on financing because they're making payments.
Yep,
I want them to have a warranty as well. I want to set them up for success. But it's very important to have a warranty because when you buy a brand new car, you get a warranty. I
absolutely.
think it's doubly more important when you buy a used car. It's detrimental that you get a warranty.
Absolutely.
There's so many moving parts in these cars, and each car is different,
And we
unique,
know this.
and who knows how the car was owned or maintained
Yeah.
before. We can guess. That's why you need the warranty.
Yeah, and we see it several times, that people come in and they're like, you know what? This warranty, it saved my butt. My transmission went out or whatever the case may be, and they come back and they thank us.
Yeah.
Even though it may seem like something that was offsetting at first, it turns out to be a blessing in a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
ways.
yeah. At first, people don't want to pay, or I'm just buying this car, and then I have this extra expense.
But then you're able to offer that in their financing, so it equals about what, $5 more a month?
But no, on average, 15 to
About 15
20
bucks.
bucks.
But
Yeah,
what could you really buy for 15 bucks? You can't get a
like
air
what?
filter
You
for
get two
15 bucks.
coffees, maybe
Two coffees.
Yeah,
That's 2 days worth of
yeah,
coffee for a guaranteed set amount of time that
yeah.
your vehicle is under warranty.
This we just sold well, a while back. We sold a van, and fortunately and unfortunately, well, unfortunately, the transmission went,
Hmm.
so the warranty covered it. About 6 months or a year later, the engine went. The warranty covered the engine. So the guy paid like $1,500 total cost of the warranty, approximately. But he got a transmission, an engine, and he's still driving. It was a commercial
It's
vehicle.
a commercial vehicle. I remember that one
Yeah,
because it was a big to do. But how grateful is that guy?
the guy's grateful, and
Super, super grateful.
yeah,
And the fact that you can even warranty a vehicle that you're going to take out and you're going to go run it on these streets and highways in this traffic and
and a
be
commercial
covered
vehicle, and
in a
commercial
commercially
gets more.
licensed vehicle. That's really unheard of because you think about commercial, a lot of places won't even finance a vehicle that is commercially used, and we not only are we financing these vehicles, we're covering the
Warranty,
driver
yeah.
because if you owned a company that did cable service, obviously you're going to have employees driving these vehicles, similar to our friend that has the pool company. He's got to put his faith in the driver itself. You never know.
Yeah.
Somebody may have an offsetting day and roughhouse the vehicle, and next thing you know, the boss is getting a phone call and broke down. Hey, good news! I've got a warranty, towing covered, repairs covered, sometimes even a rental car covered. And why? Because we took the time to express to them the
Yes.
nature of a warranty. So that's all good information right there. It's
Yeah. So the main thing is the process begins with me buying the vehicle.
yes, sir.
I try to do the best I can. Of course, sometimes I make mistakes, but there's a ways out where we can return the car. And then also we do go over the cars and we do fix them. Second thing, the customer comes in, likes the car. The customer takes the car to a mechanic for a second opinion. Highly recommend that. The customer also loves their car. It fits their purpose, their needs, and everything that they need, whether it's for their family or they have a large family or they like road trips or it's for commercial or it's for work.
Hmm.
Whatever the scenario is, we have a car for everyone from classic cars from the 50s to Jeeps to trucks to commercial to sports cars. You name it, we have it because every person is different. We have a car for every person. And then cars are fun too. So some people want a toy, a Jeep,
Absolutely.
or a big monster truck,
Or Turbo Mustang,
turbo Mustang.
Raptor trucks,
Yeah,
the Nightmares. Remember,
nightmares.
we've got a bunch of
Yeah,
those.
we've.
Um,
I have a race truck. We have a race truck right now,
yep, yep, yep.
a Pro Street race truck. So whatever your imagination can think of, we usually have it, and
Don't we even have a couple of campers
we do have
right
a
now,
few
currently on the
campers.
lot?
And we have a food truck, a camper,
Yep,
a bread truck. You know, so you just come in and it's like a a museum or extravaganza.
extravaganza.
Yeah. So so those are the things to look for, and then each car. Which would be another video, but we can briefly, I think, talk about it. Each car has, it's like a wine, because like I make that analogy because some wines are amazing and some wines are not. So these cars are also like a Chevy has good years and bad years. A
Absolutely.
Ford has good years and bad years, and each one has good models and bad models.
Yep.
So one thing to be aware of, or maybe do a little research before you go buy the car, is this is the good model or bad model. Do a little research online, like
Yeah.
you Google it. What are the issues with a particular car that you're looking at?
Like read like an Edmunds review.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty easy. You just go on Google is what are the issues with this car,
Hmm.
and it'll give you a list of all the top issues,
Yeah.
and that gives you also insight when you go to look at the car. That'll give you insight to what to look for while you're in and looking at the car. And then if you notice there's so many issues, maybe that's not a car to buy. Maybe it's a car to avoid. So that is, for me, something that I'm aware of, and
Yes, sir.
we can talk all day about all these different
And we
issues.
will. And we will.
I want to.
It's coming.
I think that would be a great video.
So back to my part, being the mechanic, one of your mechanics. Grateful, glad to work for you. Um, like I said, first thing we do when we get them in the lot, we always go through and check the brakes, the tires, the lights. Say I come to you with an issue, you give me the green light, and I find something else. We take care of that stuff. We try to put out the best product we can. Um, but then again, it's there's always that little something, which is the part of this movie we're trying to show you guys the do's and don'ts. Um, for me, I don't know what, like, I'm thinking, like, what would you consider like an absolute deal breaker when it comes to buying a car? Like, what is something you would see in a car that would absolutely be like, nope, not buying this car?
Well, when I first started the dealership and started buying cars, I didn't really have an understanding of it. But now, when I see a car, I look at the condition, the overall condition, and if I see the overall condition of the car and it's nice and clean, it's worth buying.
Yeah.
If the car looks like garbage, beat up, abused visually, no matter what the value of the car, if somebody didn't take care of the car and the car looks like garbage, it's not worth whatever the value is said it's worth. So I try to avoid now when I see a car that looks like it's been abused, I try to avoid those cars. I like
So
to buy.
you're speaking on maintenance. And maintenance is such an important factor today, especially when you have these vehicles that use 0.15 and 0.20 oils and synthetics and non synthetics. And that goes back to our original statement too with the Carfax, because a lot of that maintenance history that
Is
we're
in there.
looking at is right there. It's documented as proof that someone loved the vehicle enough to at least take it, every 5,000 or so to get at least an oil change.
Yeah. What are the Billy? What are the most important things in maintenance? Like sometimes with some now, like before when I started driving, when I was a teenager, I was told 3,000 miles. Every 3,000 miles, you got to get an oil change. Now I hear on some cars 10,000 miles. Some cars 5,000 miles. Some with seven, and I don't get it. Like, can you tell? Like,
Okay, well,
expand on that, or what's the real?
so the real deal, okay, you want to look at condition. You want to look that your engine oil is not black, it doesn't smell like raw fuel, and secondly, that it's just full to the mark. You know, if I were to be looking at a car and it's upper in mileage, I would maybe look at things like what does the exhaust look like? Does it have, some
Site.
schmutz on the bumper? Things of that nature. Also, you want to make sure you're using the proper gas. A lot of times, like your Mercedes and things of that nature, will require premium gasoline. A lot of people neglect that because it's a couple dollars more at the pump. But we've seen time and time again where just by switching from a regular gasoline
Huge
to
improvement.
premium gasoline and driving these vehicles, I mean, how many times have I told you, just hey man, go take it on the highway
Clear
and
it out.
drive it.
Clear
Just
it.
just drive it, because these vehicles, they if they sit for longer than a month, especially with today's ethanol enriched gasoline, it starts to turn. It starts to feel not quite where it should be. Um, Back to your original question, um, which was
Oh, what do you recommend? How often should you change oil?
okay. So changing oil as often as the manufacturer would recommend, as long as it's full and it's not leaking, that's primary. A lot of different manufacturers will say that mileage is further, kind of as like almost like a sales pitch. I want to say, I mean, really, I want to see no more than 5,000 miles in an oil change. Transmission, things of that nature, 60,000 for replacing those fluids. Other services that people sometimes neglect, it would be like a front differential on a 4x4, rear differential. Those fluids need to be changed, especially if you are driving in wet conditions, things of that nature. You want to check the condition of those fluids for water contamination, especially on the trucks, because you don't know. And I wouldn't know either without actually checking that there's no water intrusion in those. You want to check those transmissions every 60,000. Spark plugs, things of that nature, you want to change those on the service interval, because I've seen it where the spark plugs weren't changed on that 60,000 or that 100,000 mile mark, and it creates a misfire, a drivability concern. You know, um, some of the manufacturers like to lie and say like their transmissions are like
No fault.
lifetime, which really we know is not true. There's no predetermined lifetime of a vehicle. I would like to say. I mean, I really feel like you know uh, the 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 person that's buying the vehicle needs to maintain it as per the dealer claims, but at the same time use your better judgment.
And the other thing is when we get cars that have been maintained,
Hmm.
they have less problems, and they we sell them to people, and people are happy, and they even come back and tell us how great the vehicle is.
Or they're bringing their friends.
Yeah. So the same applies. If you own this vehicle and you don't take care of it, it's going to break down on you and going to give you problems and all kinds of issues. So by having a car and doing this regular maintenance will make your car last, and it'll be there for you. It'll take you where you need to go. You can count on it. It'll be a reliable vehicle. So it's detrimental that you do the oil change and you do the service. That is so. So first you come buy the car, but then second, it's detrimental that you take care of it and you do all the maintenance, and because then the car's gonna take care of you. And the other thing is I want to say these manufacturers, they say 10 years. I think that's BMW. So when they tell you that you change the oil every 10 years, people forget and then never change the oil. They come in. That's why we get so many BMWs with engine problems, because people forget to change the oil. Period.
Or even check it,
And
the
check it.
level.
You can't even check because you can't go in there.
Well, you can if you know how to go through the menu and check it.
Process.
You know, there's a lot of little tricks that you learn along the way. I would say that for sure. And although we do know those tricks, it's nice to be able to explain to others, but it's kind of situational as per different vehicles require certain things. It bothers me that most manufacturers have done away with the dipstick for the oil and the transmission fluid, because by incorporating that into a way that you would have to have the vehicle on a lift to check, really is a dissatisfying.
But that's the manufacturers taking away
That's
your.
their choice.
They want to make money off of you, so that way you have to take it to make it difficult for you.
Like a what do you call it? Like a built-in redundancy, or and that's kind of where they want you. They want you buying that new car, in 5 years. They want you to. It's like an iPhone, Every year they're coming out with the
Yeah.
new old iPhone.
Yeah, yeah. It's the same phone usually,
Same
but
phone.
a little
Yeah.
different case, a little different this, and
Yeah.
pay again. And but the cars are getting more complicated all the time,
Absolutely.
and more advanced, and with batteries and computers,
Yeah.
and each one has its own issues and quirks. And Billy, I don't I think you're really gifted, because you're an encyclopedia to every manufacturer, every car, and it's all in your head.
Well,
On average, that's
and I've been in this industry for the better part of 15 years now, and I've always been a car enthusiast like yourself.
yeah, I love cars.
I started out. I used to pay my uncle to fix my cars. Believe it or not, I was a tree trimmer, and given access to people's yards, I'd always find vehicles that either had been sitting down for a while or for a long time, and I would purchase these vehicles and get them running, and that's what really started my desire to even
Cars.
fix cars, is just the access that I had to cars that were neglected. I got some sense of enjoyment by
Bringing
putting
life
them
back,
back on the road.
bringing life, and you still do. Whenever sometimes I get these cars that haven't ran. I've had a few that haven't ran in 10 years.
I'm the worst.
And you can't wait to get them started.
Can't wait to get them running.
Bring them back to life like
The
Frankenstein.
Monte Carlo.
Monte Carlo.
It
We got a
hadn't ran
Cougar.
since what, 93?
Yeah. So that was 20 years. 30 years it didn't run.
30 years it sat down.
Yeah, 30 years.
And
And
we
got
had
a-
it running.
We got a Cougar next.
Yep,
Hasn't
the
ran-
71 Cougar
hasn't
convertible.
ran in 10 years.
Yeah,
So we got to
can't wait.
get that going. Well, Billy, so I think that's coming to our video's coming to an end, and this was our first one. I really enjoyed doing that with you. I think we're going to do one a week. Not one a week. One a month.
All right, well, like I said, I'm Billy. I work for Victory Auto Group, and it's a pleasure working for this man, and I can't wait to be able to give you guys some more information. And I know we were kind of talking about an idea of maybe even doing a call-in service. I don't know if that's
I
possible.
don't think it's possible.
It would be amazing. Either way, send us a couple of questions. If there's something you feel we didn't cover in this video, we'll take your notes and we'll make sure to address it in the next one. Thank you for having me, sir.
Thank you, Billy.
Appreciate it.